My name is Peter Collins. I am 30 years old and have been a skilled and committed game designer based in San Jose, California. Just a few days remained before the release of what I considered the project of my life, a groundbreaking game set to transform the indie scene. Soon after, I was about to marry Megan Davis, my fiancée and professional partner within the industry. I was the creative force behind the game, having invested many years perfecting it. Megan, who was also a designer, appeared supportive on the surface, yet secretly viewed my success as a barrier to her own aspirations. I have always been a person who favors coding and algorithms, focusing more on creating than navigating industry politics. My openness and enthusiasm ended up becoming my most significant vulnerabilities. If you are fascinated by tales of ruthless retribution and unexpected twists, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel right now. Brand new, unreleased stories come out here every day, each one more thrilling than the last. The betrayal struck from the direction I least anticipated. Driven by jealousy, Megan covertly tampered with the game's code I was about to unveil. She stole my concept to present it as her own at a major event in the gaming industry. I caught the first signs of tampering just moments before the final submission while scrutinizing the code. Small, cleverly planted bugs traced directly back to her. The truth suddenly became clear. My fiancé had both stolen and sabotaged my life's work. The pain I felt was sharp, a betrayal reaching far beyond love, leaving me in shock. A wave of cold clarity and resolve took over me. I decided not to cause a scene behind the scenes. The real retaliation would happen openly on stage, where everyone could see it and feel its impact. Megan Davis, aged 30, my fiancé and professional partner, had exposed herself as jealous and driven by ambition. Her excuse was her desire for recognition and fame. She thought that by stealing my concept, she could reach the success she longed for much faster. Reflecting on it now, I realized Megan had grown more competitive about my achievements, paying unusual attention to particular parts of my code, supposedly to assist me. My instincts as a programmer aware of potential weaknesses raised alarm bells. I started keeping detailed records of every modification and every occasion she accessed the code, building a security log that would serve as my evidence. Years prior, I had embedded a secret signature and a concealed defect within the foundational code of the game. This defect was designed so that if the code was copied without permission or tampered with, it would trigger a massive failure at the most critical moment during public use, yet it would not harm the original system's integrity. I possessed undeniable digital proof of my authorship, and all alterations connected directly to Megan. This would be the irrefutable demonstration of her deceit. I kept both my discovery and my strategy to myself. My sole objective was to ensure that the hidden flaw would activate in the most high-profile venue possible, the most important conference in the gaming industry. Megan's act of sabotage was far from impulsive. It was a carefully planned move to seize control of my life's work and outshine me in our field by weaponizing my own invention. There were no clear collaborators involved, yet Megan's boundless ambition drove her to commit this harsh betrayal entirely by herself. The timing of her treachery was deliberate, coinciding perfectly with her moment of peak success and my ultimate shame. The event itself was electrifying. The Game Dev Summit in Los Angeles stood as the pinnacle gathering of the industry each year, where reputations could be built or destroyed on a single stage. Megan commanded the spotlight, poised and self-assured, as she unveiled my game before a sea of peers, potential backers, and reporters. Dressed in a tailored black blazer, she spoke with flawless assurance born from rehearsed deception. The enormous LED screen behind her lit up with the game's opening title as she launched into her keynote. Ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to present Neural Nexus, a groundbreaking indie title destined to transform how we perceive artificial intelligence within gaming, she declared, her voice resonating clearly through the packed theater. I sat quietly a few rows back, clad in a plain gray hoodie, deliberately blending into the background. My hands rested composedly on my lap, though inside I was a whirlwind of tension and anticipation. Countless years of dedication had culminated in this instant. Not the moment of my triumph, but rather the announcement of my undoing. The demonstration proceeded without a hitch. Megan moved skillfully through the game's interface, articulating features she clearly knew by heart. I had never fully grasped it before. The crowd was spellbound. Technology reporters feverishly typed notes on their MacBooks. Investors in the front row leaned forward, clearly intrigued. For 15 minutes, everything unfolded precisely as she had intended. "Now, let me introduce you to the true breakthrough," Megan declared, pressing a button to launch the live gameplay demo. "Our exclusive artificial intelligence system generates genuinely dynamic settings that change according to the player's actions in real time." The game started flawlessly. The visuals were breathtaking, countless hours of my existence condensed into pixels and code. The audience whispered in admiration as the protagonist navigated a futuristic urban landscape. Megan's confidence soared. She had taken my life's work and was about to be praised for it in front of the entire sector. Then, at exactly 17 minutes and 32 seconds into the presentation, my secret failsafe kicked in. The screen flickered once, then twice. Megan's clicks on the mouse grew frantic as the game's frame rate plunged sharply. The fluid motion degraded into a jittering disaster. The spectators shifted uneasily in their seats. Technical issues? Megan chuckled nervously, her voice trembling slightly. "I'll just reboot this segment." But no reboot was possible. The error chain I had coded years ago was now fully active. The game's memory consumption soared to unmanageable heights. The stunning textures started to corrupt, transforming into psychedelic nightmares unfolded. The character model had stretched and warped beyond any recognition. I do not understand what is going on," Megan Davis stammered, frantically clicking through menus that no longer responded. Her once confident demeanor was dissolving before everyone's eyes. The audience had fallen utterly silent, witnessing a promising career unravel live. The enormous screen behind Megan now showcased a disturbing error message in glaring red letters. "System integrity compromised. Unauthorized modification detected." The failsafe had done more than simply crash the game. It was displaying proof of tampering to the entire auditorium. Streams of code cascaded across the screen, pinpointing the precise alterations Megan had made, complete with timestamps and traced back to her development setup. This is not... Megan's voice faltered as the implications dawned on her. Her complexion drained of color while she read the error notifications scrolling behind her. The conference organizers hurried onto the stage. The head of technical operations, a middle-aged man wearing a Microsoft t-shirt, took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are encountering some technical issues. We will pause briefly to investigate." Yet the damage had already been done. Within 5 minutes, Megan Davis had plummeted from an industry rising star to a public disgrace. The error logs exposed unauthorized code changes, signs of plagiarism, and, most damning of all my original authorship timestamps were deeply woven into the game's structure. As the auditorium erupted in confused murmurs, I sat completely unmoved, observing Megan's world crumble with the same deliberate calm I had applied to orchestrate its downfall. She remained motionless on stage, gazing at the betrayal spelled out in letters towering 40 feet behind her. The Game Dev Summit was now witness to the most extraordinary public disaster in its 15-year existence, and I was the sole individual there who understood this outcome was intentionally crafted. What was meant to be a 30-minute break stretched into 2 hours. While the attendees streamed out searching for overpriced coffee and networking opportunities, I stayed seated, watching the turmoil unfold from my prime vantage point of justice. Conference staff swarmed the stage resembling forensic experts examining a crime scene. Their laptops and diagnostic tools formed a labyrinth of cables and blinking lights. Dr. Sarah Chen, the summit's chief technical officer and an industry icon, took direct control of the probe. Having launched 3 successful game studios in Silicon Valley, she held no patience for deceit. I observed her scrutinize the error logs with the precision of a surgeon, surrounded by her engineering team, who moved like residents in an operating theater. "This is unprecedented," she declared to the conference organizers, her voice echoing across the nearly empty hall. "The code? There is undeniable proof of unauthorized changes and intellectual property theft. It is essential to carry out a thorough forensic examination before moving forward." Megan had been taken to a secluded meeting room, yet I could still spot her through the glass wall, pacing anxiously like a trapped creature. Her once smooth black blazer was now creased, and her previously immaculate hairstyle had turned messy. She repeatedly glanced at her iPhone, most likely contacting her lawyer or agent, anyone who could help her get out of the predicament she had fallen into. The investigation crew operated with the precision of a government task force. They hooked my original development machine up to their system, matching timestamps, scrutinizing code signatures, and following the digital marks I had embedded deep inside the game's framework. Every alteration Megan had made was recorded, organized, and compared meticulously against my original files. "Good heavens," a junior engineer muttered loud enough for me to hear. "This feels like a masterclass in digital forensics. Whoever created this original code is a mastermind." I allowed myself a faint smile. The irony was clear. They were applauding my craftsmanship while hunting down its theft. Dr. Chen stepped up to the microphone just as the crowd started returning to the auditorium. The murmurs vanished at once. In the gaming world, her word was final, and everyone sensed something major was about to unfold. "Ladies and gentlemen," she started. Her voice resonated with complete authority. "After conducting an extensive forensic investigation, we have concluded that the project submitted by Ms. Davis contains appropriated intellectual property alongside unauthorized manipulations of the code." The room instantly filled with noise. Reporters reached for their phones, investors exchanged urgent whispers with their aides, and developers scattered throughout the audience shared stunned looks. This went beyond a mere technical issue. This was a public condemnation. The original source code was created by Peter Collins, Dr. Chen continued, and my own name reverberated through the speakers as if it were a final judgment. The authorship of Mr. Collins is irrefutably established by embedded timestamps, coding fingerprints, and a complex verification mechanism integrated deeply into the game's foundation. I rose slowly, my legs trembling after being still for so many hours. 3,000 pairs of eyes fixed on me, while I moved toward the aisle. The crowd parted as if by an invisible force, carving a route to the stage. I heard the clicking of cameras, the buzz of recording phones, and the growing murmur of recognition sweeping through the audience. Furthermore, Dr. Chen declared as I ascended the stairs to the platform, the alterations made by Ms. Davis seemed intentionally crafted to undermine the game's functionality, implying not only theft, but malevolent purpose. The irony was striking. Megan's bungled efforts to hide her wrongdoing had just made the sabotage appear deliberate, intensifying the situation. Accused of deliberate sabotage and plagiarism, my concealed safety mechanism was crafted with such subtlety that it seemed part of her deceit rather than my retaliation. Stepping up to the microphone, I faced an audience that an hour earlier was prepared to applaud a deception. Behind me, the enormous screen revealed my original code, pure and sophisticated, side by side with Megan's ruined alterations. The difference was striking, like comparing a Beethoven masterpiece to a child playing with pots and pans. 3 years ago, I started building neural nexus from my apartment in San Jose, I explained, my voice calm despite the rush of adrenaline. Every script, each algorithm, every innovative choice was born from endless nights of dedication and creativity. The crowd was utterly silent, hanging on every phrase. Within the gaming world, theft of intellectual property was the gravest offense, and they were now witnessing its live unraveling. Megan Davis had trusted access to my development space as my fiancé and partner, I went on, deliberately emphasizing that connection. She exploited this confidence to steal my creation and falsely claim it as her own. However, the truth has a way of surfacing. I indicated toward the screen where irrefutable forensic proof was visible. Time-stamped code, alteration records, and verification signatures formed an indisputable case that could withstand scrutiny in any legal setting. The audience sat motionless as the evidence unfolded clearly before their eyes. The gaming world thrives on creativity, innovation, and trust, I declared, my voice growing firmer with every word. When someone betrays that trust, they do not only damage a single person, they harm the entire community that relies on intellectual integrity. The applause began quietly, gradually swelling into a roaring ovation. 3,000 professionals from the industry were witnessing justice prevailing over deceit. They were applauding not merely my personal victory, but the safeguarding of their own creative efforts. As the applause echoed, I noticed Megan through the glass wall. She was slouched in her chair, her face hidden in her hands, her career and reputation shattered in just one afternoon. The woman who attempted to steal my life's work had instead staged her own professional downfall on the largest platform in the industry. The conference hosts came over with contracts and business cards, but I was not done yet. This was merely the first chapter of my comeback tale. The repercussions of the Game Dev Summit were immediate and unforgiving. Within a few hours, the story had reached every major gaming magazine, influential tech website, and social media channel. The Great Gaming Scandal of 2024 became the industry's most widely discussed controversy, with my name recognized not as a victim, but as the brilliant creator who uncovered the fraud. By the moment I arrived back at my hotel at the Beverly Hills Marriott, my phone was already buzzing non-stop with calls and messages. Calls flooded in from publishers, investors, and journalists. CNN Tech sought an exclusive interview, while the Wall Street Journal was gearing up for a feature article. Venture capital firms nestled in Sand Hill Road eagerly requested meetings. The gaming world, which had been poised to celebrate a deceit just hours earlier, was now scrambling to back the person who had fallen victim to that same fraud. However, the most gratifying call arrived from an unexpected source: Electronic Arts. Michael Rodriguez, their acquisitions head, had attended the conference and wanted to explore buying Neural Nexus for their indie division. The irony was striking. The game Megan Davis attempted to steal had increased in value tenfold because of her unsuccessful heist. "Peter, what occurred today was truly unprecedented," Rodriguez said during our phone conversation. "Your response to the crisis demonstrated not only technical genius, but strategic insight rarely witnessed in this field. We want to offer you a 7-figure deal for the game, along with a development contract for future titles." I accepted their offer, but set one firm condition. Every press release and marketing piece must present the full story of how the game was stolen and then recovered. I wanted Megan's betrayal to remain permanently intertwined with my victory, a cautionary narrative that would shadow her professional life. Legal actions followed swiftly. Within 1 week, my intellectual property attorney, Jennifer Walsh, from a well-known Century City firm, had launched an extensive lawsuit against Megan Davis, accusing her of copyright violation, breach of fiduciary duty, and fraud. The proof was so compelling that her attorneys recommended settling quickly instead of enduring a public courtroom battle. Your careful preparation and the integration of authentication features into your code made this the simplest intellectual property dispute I have ever managed, Walsh said to me during lunch at Spago in Beverly Hills. Most cases involving IP theft take several years to resolve. You delivered undeniable evidence with clear fingerprints. The settlement was significant enough to finance my upcoming 3 gaming projects without external funding. More critically, it contained a provision demanding Megan publicly confess her wrongdoing and offer a formal apology through industry magazines. She had to admit in writing that she had stolen my creations and apologize to the gaming community for her deceit. This public apology was published in Game Developer magazine 3 months afterward. It appeared on page 47, hidden in the dry, legal language of defeat. I, Megan Davis, recognized that I unlawfully took the intellectual property of Peter Collins and represented his work as my own. I deeply regret this act and apologize to Mr. Collins and the game development community. Reading those words was far more gratifying than any sum of money could ever be. The woman who attempted to appropriate my life's work was now compelled to face her guilt openly. She was forced to openly acknowledge her wrongdoing and seek forgiveness from the very industry she tried to deceive. Yet Megan's fall did not end there. The gaming world is remarkably close-knit, and news spreads quickly. Within half a year, she found herself unemployable. Every leading studio, indie developer, and emerging gaming company had caught wind of her story. Her name became linked to intellectual property theft, a damaging reputation that clings to you indefinitely in a creative field grounded on trust and cooperation. I learned from shared acquaintances that she had returned to her parents' home in Phoenix, Arizona, and was working at a Best Buy, selling video games to teenagers. The woman who attempted to take credit for my achievement was now patiently explaining PlayStation controller functions to puzzled suburban parents. The irony was almost too fitting. At the same time, Neural Nexus turned into a major sensation. The title that had been sabotaged on stage in Los Angeles was launched half a year later to widespread praise and financial success. It received 3 honors at the Independent Games Festival, including one for outstanding design. The scandal involving the theft actually brought more attention than any advertising effort could have managed. The true satisfaction arrived when I founded Collins Interactive, my own game development company, inside a revamped warehouse in San Francisco's Soma neighborhood. This venture was rooted in values that Megan had broken: innovation, honesty, and mutual respect. Intellectual property was my initial focus. My first recruit was Dr. Sarah Chen, who had led the forensic investigation that uncovered the deception. "Do you know what struck me most about that day?" she inquired during our first strategy session in my new workspace. "You never lost your composure. You could have caused a scene, confronted her openly, or demolished her reputation with theatrics. But instead, you allowed the truth to reveal itself. That is the sign of a genuine professional." The reality was that I had gained a valuable lesson from Megan Davis's betrayal. Revenge works best when delivered with accuracy instead of emotion. The smartest way to ruin someone who has harmed you is not by attacking them head-on, but by creating circumstances where they unravel on their own. After 2 years, Neural Nexus had sold over 2 million units globally. Collins Interactive employed 35 developers and had 3 games underway. I had appeared on the cover of Wired magazine as one of the digital pioneers shaping gaming's future. The theft meant to end my career instead propelled me to the highest levels of the gaming world. The ultimate act of poetic justice arrived when I got an email from Megan herself from a generic Gmail address. The subject was, "Congratulations on your success." The note read briefly, "Peter, I have been watching your progress and wanted to express that I am truly pleased with your achievements. I acknowledge my actions were unforgivable, and I have had to face the repercussions every single day since then. You deserve so much more, and I apologize deeply." I read the message twice before deciding to delete it without replying. Some relationships, once destroyed, should never be mended again. The woman who attempted to take what I had built throughout my life ended up learning the toughest lesson of all. True success is never taken by force, but is achieved only through talent, dedication, and honesty. If you found this tale interesting, please give this video a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you are not yet part of the channel, please subscribe and tap the notification icon to stay updated with new stories like this. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.